Okay, today I'm taking a look at this Zenith Space Command ultrasonic remote control. A friend of mine gave this to me a little while back, and I do appreciate the gift. And it had a bit of a rattle when I got it, and one of the buttons was kind of sticky, and I wasn't sure what's going on, so I opened it up. Obviously, you can see parts and everything here on the table. And it had two issues that I found. Um, there were these tone bars here, which are hit with strikers after this snap action switch shoots them out to the end of the tone bar and causes it to, I believe, resonate at an ultrasonic frequency, and then that ultrasonic frequency is picked up by the receiver on a television. So, but these bars here were just kind of rattling around inside, and they're supposed to be suspended on this little, I'm gonna call it a bridge piece with clips, and that goes in. That would be in this part of the remote here, and I could only find one partial clip inside of there. So I don't know what happened to the other ones. Maybe they just broke with time and then kind of fell out. There's a screen on the front that, this metal mesh that they could, probably try to escape through. So the other issue with that, one of the buttons being mushy, there was a plastic piece that failed. We'll get back to that. But yeah, this clip, I'm going to need clips to hold those in place. And luckily I have one kind of that have the shape, so I understand what it's supposed to look like. And so what I first tried to do was get this, go to the hardware store, see what they had in terms of kind of wire, kind of stiff wire, not just a copper wiring. But so I've got this steel cable they cut off a little end for, and I took one of the strands, and I was able to kind of shape it, similar shape, but since it's in this kind of twisted shape, twisted together as a strand of a bigger cable, it's all kind of wavy, and it's very very difficult to get that curvature out of it. So I went on, and I wasn't really sure what I'm looking for, other than I know the thickness of this particular wire on this clip. So I decided to just go to McMaster Car, and I found something appropriate. 0.016 galvanized 1-foot pieces of straight wire. And this 50 count package, this is going to be a lifetime supply. It's also not the cheapest way to get that. That would definitely be not giving up on this and just playing around with this, because that was free, but a real pain. So anyway, I've got this, and 1 foot is probably going to get me more than enough to make all of the little clips that are going to hold these bars in this little frame. So I've got that problem probably solved. We'll see once I've actually finished making the clips. The other one is a little more difficult and a little more involved, and it's taken a bit of time, so we'll get into that. So the other issue I found inside of here was that a plastic part had failed, one of those little side pegs here, and I'm pointing to this little guy. You can see there's kind of a protruding peg on one side. There should be one on the other, and I've got some other ones here that I've made myself. But that, it slides in a little metal channel here on the button, and at first it holds down, and it forces this little lever, spring-loaded lever, down until the button bottoms out, and then because that little latch is spring-loaded, it gets pushed out of the way and then shoots off into space. I guess that's why they call it Space Command. Yeah, that wasn't important. I've got the tone bar. That's or striker. Yeah, got to be careful with that when it's taken apart. Okay, so anyway, if that gets jammed up, as one over here without the extra peg does, the button doesn't quite work right, the snap action doesn't work, or it just kind of goes down and doesn't actually snap. You just kind of push the button against this other spring-loaded piece. So I needed to make a new one because, as far as I know, you can't buy a reproduction one. But there's also an excuse to play around with FreeCAD, which I'm still getting used to. So I was able to model it, sort of, and the model looks a lot better than what was printed. The printer I have, standard 0.4 millimeter nozzle, and the first layer is going to melt a little more on the bed, and the layer heights that I'm using with my slicer was at 0.16 or something. I don't know. There's not very great resolution, and a lot of the work ended up being playing around with it in the slicer settings and how I printed it rather than actually modeling it. The modeling part was actually not too terribly difficult. There is some detail that I just don't think I'm going to be able to capture with the way I'm printing this. These kind of sleds on the side and the bottom of this that run along the back side in this metal channel here on the arm for the button. But it seems to work okay despite not getting that detail. But yeah, so I think I've got a working solution. The one in here is made with PLA. I did have one that was PETG that shot off into space. That I think that material might hold up better to abrasion than the PLA. So I'm probably going to use that one instead. But I think I have a working solution there. And we'll come back after I get things cleaned up here, get the grime and goo out of here from years of use, and get these bars back in place. And hopefully we'll have a good as new remote control. So earlier in the video I talked about replacing these clips here with some wire. I had mentioned, I believe, this stuff, the galvanized wire. This is way too soft. It does not hold its shape nearly as well as it should. So I upgraded to this music wire instead, same thickness, 0.016 inches. And I've made 4 new clips. You can see them here, how they clip in. And then this little retaining plate, I'm not sure if that's supposed to go on before or after I put the bars in, because we'll find out here in a few minutes. And I think that's just there to make sure that these wire clips don't come out. I still don't know why I'm missing, oh, there we go, 3 of these, and why this broke apart. Was it corrosion, fatigue? I don't know. So anyway, I'll bring you back here in a few minutes after I get the rest of these installed into this, and we'll finish rebuilding the remote. Now I've got the bridge assembled with the 4 bars, with the new clips. They don't seem to stay quite as firmly as I would hope, but I think it'll be okay. We'll find out. They were kind of at an angle at first here because I didn't make sure that both sides of the new clips were like in the same plane. So if you're making these yourself, if you bend them up, I just use some needle nose pliers. Just lay them on the bench and make sure it lays flat before you put them in. And now, I guess it's time to reassemble things. I've got the buttons here, a little bit of white lithium grease to lubricate that, so we'll get to that. This goes into the top cover, so it goes up here. And I seem to have misplaced the screwdriver I was using. Okay. Let's put this back in here. Need these brass, I guess copper colored screws. We'll go into here. Hopefully that's correct. And then this guy is a little tricky because this little plate that goes on here has these detents that push down a little bit on these arms. So, and then you also have to hold these back. Let's see if I can do this. Yeah, fingers are really also digging into my fingertips right now. Really got to stop doing that. No, that one's stuck. The middle two are stuck. Okay. Okay, there we go. I tried holding it down earlier with like a bar, but it just kept, there's not much purchase, so it just kind of slips off every time I did that, so. All right, so this has to go in here somewhere. Let's see, can we get that? Did I do this out of order? Yes. Okay. Well, I'm silly. It makes perfect sense. If I look at the other side, something's got to go there. All right. Well, that's terrible. We'll just undo this real quick. Okay. Get our buttons in. These longer screws here. Get this back. Only looks a little funky. Oh, it looks like it's resting on the... Maybe it's designed to do that way. Prevents it from rattling too much. I have no idea. First time I've ever worked on one of these, so... I think that's it. We got just these back cover. Gotta get that little screen in there. Yeah, I think that'll do. Okay, let's see if it works. You can definitely hear a ping sound when it does that. Not with that one. Well, I don't actually have the television this goes to, so I don't know if it works. But I do want to make some sort of receiver. I did find someone else who's done something with, I think, an Arduino and like one of these ultrasonic distance sensors. Might be able to use that to receive the sound from this. So we'll give that a try in another video. But yeah, I think we're good to go. At least go back on display. So it's all cleaned up. Anyway, that's it for now. Thanks for watching.